Hi, I'm Cash with CashedOutCars, and in today's video we're going to be once again painting steel wheels, but this time we're going to be doing the paint job basically as fast as possible and for as cheap as possible. So this paint job should cost around $10, and I'm hoping to get it done within about 2 hours. So we're going to jump right into it. Right here is everything I'm going to use during this process. We have our 2 cans of spray paint, some sandpaper to clean up the wheels and rough up the surface, some tape to mask it, and some wire brushes to also help clean up the wheels. The very first thing I'm going to do is just use this wire brush, and any spots where there's flaky paint or rust, I'm just going to wire brush it and get that flake off. So this removes any large rust scale and will give your paint a better surface to stick to, which will make your paint job last longer. Even though this is a really quick paint job, I still want it to last fairly well, so I am going to go through some steps of making the wheels a little bit nicer. Now that I've quickly wire brushed the wheel, I'm going to hit it with some sandpaper real quick, and that'll take out some rust that's in the divots that the rust creates. And once again, it'll just make the final job a little bit nicer, even though we are going quick. And as you can see, there's a lot of rust and crap that comes off of the wheels when you do this. Once you have the majority of the rust off of your wheel, you want to go over the whole entire surface with some fairly fine sandpaper or a scuff pad to just lightly rough it up, which will give your paint something to stick to. At this point, I would highly recommend vacuuming up all of the rust dust to get it off of the wheel, and then you could start masking it off. To mask off your wheel, I would recommend taking some masking tape and just starting along the very edge of the wheel and basically just making a circle around your wheel with the masking tape, getting as close to the lip of the wheel as possible. And to do this quickly, it's not bad if you go over the lip just a little bit with tape, and then after you could press it down into the crease or use a razor to trim it out. Here you can see that I have the start of my masking, and basically what I'm going to do now is just take this nylon knife and press the masking into the crease of the wheel, and this will give you a nice clean edge, and like I said, this saves a lot of time. If you're feeling really ambitious and want to make sure your wheels don't rust, you could use something like a rust treatment, which is what I actually decided to do. This does add a little bit of time, and you do have to wait for it to completely dry before you paint your wheels. But these rust treatments do a pretty good job at preventing rust. As you can see here, you just quickly brush it on or wipe it on, and it converts the rust into a black paintable surface. And this really prevents your paint from bubbling quickly and getting your new paint job ruined. So I'd recommend this if you have time. Like I said, it adds a little bit of time and money, but it is worth it. Before you start painting, it's a good idea to do one final blowdown with some compressed air. And this will get some extra dust and just crap off of the wheels that you might have missed with your rag while you wiped it down. Once you've got the edge of your wheel all masked off, you can mask off your tire, and to do that, I'm just using this old flyer that we got in the mail here. And what I like to do is rip off a part of the flyer and then cut it so the edge profile of the paper matches up with the edge of the wheel, and that way it'll sit flat on the wheel. So basically cut an arc on there, and then you could lay your masking on the wheel and tape it down just like that. And since you've done a nice job taping the inside of the wheel up to the lip, you don't actually have to do a very nice job with this masking part here. It's also super important that you remember to tape off your valve stem, otherwise you'll have a valve stem that matches your wheel. Which, if it's what you want, go ahead and do it, but I prefer mine to stay black, and it just makes it look a little bit better in my opinion. Another final thing to do before you paint your wheels is wipe it down with a cleaner like denatured alcohol. And this will remove any dust particles from the wheel, as well as remove any grease from your hand or other crap that was on the wheel. And what that does is basically make sure that the paint will stick well. Once your surface is completely prepped and completely clean, you can start spraying your wheels with paint. Now, the most important things to keep in mind while you're painting with spray paint is start spraying after the can is in motion, and this prevents a puddle when you first start pressing down the button. You want to keep your can at equidistant away from the wheel. So basically keep the can around 10 to 12 inches away, and like I said, keep moving. And remember that you could always put on more light coats, but once you get a drip, it's a little bit harder to correct. So definitely try to prevent puddling and drips. Once your paint is dry to the touch, which is generally after about 15 minutes to half an hour, you could apply a second coat, and basically you want to use the same techniques that I went over earlier. Don't create runs and drips, and just get a nice even coat on your wheels. So guys, after doing 3 coats with this Rust-Oleum 2X coverage paint, the wheels were completely covered, the color was very uniform, and I was pretty happy with the color. Now, I did end up doing a 4th coat with a new can of 2X coverage paint, and that can was quite spattery and actually sort of ruined the finish a little bit. So these wheels definitely aren't perfect, but they look pretty good. Like I said, it only took 1 can of this Rust-Oleum 2X coverage paint, so if you're looking to do this on a budget and you go fairly conservative with your coats, you could do a whole set of wheels with 1 can, and that costs around a little over $4, and if you count the price of sandpaper, you're going to be well under $10 to make your wheels a whole new color. Now, the rust repair and sanding is extra stuff that you don't necessarily have to do, but it will make your wheels come out nicer if they're not perfect to start. So basically, the wheels are painted now. I'm just going to leave it with the 4 coats, even though the last coat wasn't perfect, because I'm trying to do this fairly quick. And now I'm just going to take off the masking and see what the wheels actually look like. So right now the paint isn't completely dry, but I let it dry for probably about 10 minutes after the last coat, and I'm just going to start pulling the masking. There's no real trick to doing this other than don't pull your masking onto the paint if it's still wet, and also pull away from the paint at like an angle, so pull the tape off like that, especially for edges that you care about. And here's a pretty good idea of what these wheels will look like when they're completely unmasked. Once again, the biggest trick here is just pull away from the paint so you don't get fingerprints and stuff like that on your new paint. So guys, once you're happy with how your wheels look and you think you did enough coats, like I said, I would recommend more than 3, but you could do basically as many as you want to get it to look really good. I would recommend letting your wheels sit for a while so the paint cures nice. Now, I let mine sit for about 5 days, and I would let them sit a little bit longer, but I had to get them on the car. It's starting to get cold and snowing once in a while. So I put the wheels on. The more time that they sit, the better. It'll help them hold up in wet and cold conditions, and it'll help the paint stick longer. But yeah, like I said, all in all, this is a pretty quick method of painting these wheels. It took a little bit longer because I did the rust repair work and rust prevention work on these wheels. But if you go quick, you definitely could do it in about 2 hours of actual work. Mine took a little bit longer, once again, because I took those additional steps. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Good luck painting your wheels. If you have any questions doing your own, please leave them below. Like this video if you liked it. And if you're interested in supporting the channel by buying t-shirts or stickers, there's a link in the description below to do that. And yeah, just take care. I hope you stick around for the next one.